bit wet. So that would be my guess there. This point right here, it's interesting to notice, this is the furthest point out. Just here on our left. Oh yeah. Just on our left side here we have some bear scat. Bear cooler. Just a polite way to say it. But yes, bear scat on the left-hand side there. Like I said, there are bears around. We haven't seen that many yet this season. Mostly because the berries haven't started coming out. This is a temperate rainforest through here. But we've had very little rain so far this year. Usually we average about 55 inches of rain. This year we've gotten less than 2 inches so far. So we're very low on rain. We're all a little bit worried about strawberry production. It's one of our favorite sort of pastimes up here, is going out. We gather as many strawberries as we can and we make strawberry jam. It's a nice easy present to give people for Christmas and whatnot back home, is give them that strawberry jam. It's free. Works for us very nicely. But yeah, this year there just aren't so many strawberries around yet. Usually this is right around the time when they start coming out, maybe a week ago or so. I've seen a couple little guys just starting, so hopefully they're just a little bit late. We'll have to wait and find out. There are lots of other berries around here though. We have high and low bush cranberries, we have Saskatoon berries, we have, what else? We have watermelon berries, we have bane berries, not something you want to eat. But there's about 12 kinds of berries growing out on the point here. Blueberries, raspberries, salmon berries, and the list goes on, right? And a lot of those are edible, and we like to gather those, make a jam out of sort of a mixture of berries. Always works well. The berries up here are all native, aren't they? Yeah. All the berries are native. Can't think of any that aren't. Can't think of any that aren't out here. The wild strawberries are native out here. They are native out here as well, yeah. Yeah, so it's a lot of berries, and again, that's what the bears come here for. We're hoping that we start to get fish in our river soon. And you'll notice once we're up there, there aren't any fish in the river or the lake system up there. It's still a little bit too young. It takes salmon about 60 to 80 years to colonize a new river system. You guys have maybe all heard that salmon always spawn in the same river that they were born in. It's about 99.8% true. There's a small percentage of salmon with a genetic mutation that makes them sort of seek out, explore a new river system. And that's sort of Mother Nature's way of expanding the range of the salmon, moving into these new habitats. So they will eventually come and colonize the river here, but they haven't really done that yet. The river that we'll be on is only about 40 years old. It used to come out just south of where we were in the airport. Now it comes out just north of where we landed on the beach. So it changed riverbeds about 40 years ago. And occasionally we do see a small fish in the river or in the lake up there. So there are some starting to come up there, but not the huge number that would really attract the bears there. You guys have any questions? Anything that you're sort of curious about as we're going along here? Yeah.
How many glaciers are there in Alaska?
How many glaciers are there in Alaska? It's a good question. There's about 100,000 glaciers. About 100,000 glaciers in Alaska. Only about 650 of those actually have names, and only a handful of them have actually been studied scientifically. They've been sort of examined and looked at how they're moving, what's going on with them. So there's a lot of work left to do as far as really understanding the glacial systems up here. It's really interesting, and actually the number of glaciers is increasing. So the glaciers are receding, but the number of glaciers is increasing, which is sort of interesting. If you have one massive glacier and it's moving back, eventually if it moves back, you'll end up with sort of maybe 3 different glaciers coming from different valleys that sort of made that one massive glacier, but now they've receded enough where they're separate glaciers again. So as the glacier recedes, you actually end up with higher number of glaciers around here. It's fairly interesting as well. It doesn't necessarily alter what's going on with the glaciers, but it is interesting to see.
a hanging glacier is just one that is receded to a point where it no longer is touching water, or?
Where it's no longer touching water, yeah, a lot of times it'll be sort of over a bit of a cliff. We didn't see it on the way over because the cloud level was a little bit low, but we see maybe on the way back. Rainbow Glacier is just a couple miles north of us here, and that's a hanging glacier. You can just see it sort of in a valley, and then there's a big cliff face below it. That's a glacier not touching the water, sort of hanging over the sort of cliff.
Do they still calf?
Yeah, they still calf. You still get, I mean, yeah, it's slightly different because they're not falling into water, but you're still getting those pieces falling off the front of them there, yeah. Yeah. Well, we actually have right now 2 large growlers in the lake up there, 2 big pieces that calved off. We call them growlers around here because they're freshwater rather than saltwater. But there are 2 up there that we'll see, and I will talk about them a bit more once we get up there, but they are fairly interesting as well. Okay, here's the big turn, right, off of Airport Road, going on to Forest Road here. If you guys have a look on our right-hand side here, I'm going to warn you in advance, because this is downtown Glacier Point, but if you blink, you'll miss it. So keep a look. There's the road going down. You might be able to see one of our cabins just along that stone path going up there. Try to point out, you might still be able to see it through the forest here. Ooh, watch your heads there. Couple spruce stems. That's right, wildlife entering the bus. But yeah, that's where we all live. There's 11 of us in there, and we'll talk about that a little bit more if you guys are interested on the way back down. But you can tell already entering this forest, you can see how different these trees are than the ones that were along the beach. They don't really have that Christmas tree shape anymore. And they pretty much look dead on the bottom, right? These trees, they're not dead. They're not dead, it's just that they rely on photosynthesis, on the sun to get all of their energy. So there's no reason to waste all of that energy on the leaves or on those needles down here. They concentrate all of their energy up on the needles on the top of the trees there. But it is the same kind of tree that we're seeing through here. And if you guys look on the left and right hand side, just as we're pulling up here, you'll see some of the largest trees at Glacier Point. The largest trees here. It's sort of interesting that we see these trees here. Remember on the boat I was talking about, as we move closer to the glacier, we're getting onto newer land, right? So the oldest land here that you'd think would be out along the beach. That's not the way it works. Those largest trees are in a bay. You guys have any ideas why that would be? Ever heard of isostatic rebound? Nobody? Nobody? Oh, it's isostatic rebound. It's an interesting phenomenon there. Basically, that mile thick sheet of ice that I was talking about, that weighs a lot. I mean, 1 gallon of water is about 8.355 pounds. Right, so you have an entire mile thick sheet of this glacier ice. It weighs a huge amount, and it actually weighs enough to compress the crust of the Earth. Okay, so sort of, if you guys want to pretend that you're all glaciers at the moment, you come in here, you sit down on these cushions, right? You push down on that cushion, lowers the cushion down. When you get back up, that cushion's going to rise back up. It's going to rebound. That's what the land out there is doing. It's lifting back up now that the glacier's receded off of it. It's rising by about 3/4 of an inch per year. And it's rising by a fairly large amount there. And it's pretty amazing. When the owner of this property, the owner of the company, Bart Henderson, when he bought this land back in 1997, it hadn't been surveyed since about the 1920s. He figured it was about time, have it resurveyed, see how much property he was actually getting. So he had it resurveyed. The original survey said that he bought 240 acres. His new survey said that he had 333 acres. So he gained 90 acres of land here just through isostatic rebound, just from that rising of the land out of the fjord. And this is one of the few places around where you're actually gaining coastline. Most areas it's eroding away. Here it's gaining. They reckon that it's only risen about half as far as it's going to eventually. It still has another 1,000 feet to rise. Maybe you guys looking to invest in beachfront property? Perfect place. You have to wait a while, but you know. This is one of our most difficult turns here. You saw Christy stop there, put us in low gear. Usually it takes 5 or 6 sort of tries to get around there. Christy here did it in one. She's next to her.